Okay, won't need that anymore. Oh hey, I'm Boxer from Hoon TV. Now, I'm a mechanic by trade, used to work full-time as a mechanic a few years back, but I love cars, love making videos about cars and bikes and stuff like that. And in doing that, I spend quite a bit of time on the internet. And let's just say there's some pretty good information on the internet and there's some pretty average information on the internet. So what I'm going to do today is give you 10 tips on servicing the brakes on your car. Alrighty, here we are with our weapon of choice. This is a 1997 D22 Navara Ute. It's a 2.4 litre petrol, two-wheel drive. The only thing I've found is that the brakes are getting a bit old, the rotors are worn out, the pads are down, so we're going to throw a brand new set on it and it should stop like a demon. Alright, so let's get stuck into it. So as you've seen, I've just jacked the car up. I used a proper trolley jack and jack stands. Never ever get under a car without jack stands under it. Could be the last time you ever do it, but let's not go into that. As you can see here, the brakes are stuffed, so we're going to be replacing everything, discs, pads, the lot, giving it a good clean up. But I've got a decent selection of tools here, a nice light to get it done. But the most important thing of all is that you take your time to do it properly, because if you rush it, you might make a mistake, miss something, and that's when things go wrong. And you don't want that to happen with your brakes. So you might not have heard of something called pad slap. Now, it's not a technical term. It's basically when dodgy brothers mechanical down the street, or your mate's best friend's cousin goes, oh yes, she's all right, brakes are worn, let's slap in a new set of pads, and off we go. Don't do that. Do the brakes properly, you'll regret it otherwise. Okay, so this bit's really important. When you're removing the brake pads, pay real attention to how the caliper comes apart. Which way up the pads go, shim and clip placements, and lay out the old brake so it's a guide to reassembly. It's not rocket surgery, but you'd be surprised how this little step can save confusion later. So I've got the rotor off now, and I mentioned pad slap before, and what that was talking about is not just throwing a set of pads in. You've got to do the full job, make sure the rotors and the pads are brand new. And in some cases you can actually take the rotors off or get them machined on the car by a brake machinist and make them like new again. But the important thing is there's two ways to check your rotor when you've got them off the car. And there's firstly a visual inspection, but then measure it, because they do have a minimum thickness. Now this one here, the minimum thickness is 24 mil, but this one's actually like 24.2 mil. So it's got this big horrible groove in it and it's a bit rough across there. So it's going to save me some hassle in cleaning these. These are getting thrown in the bin and we're going to put brand new ones on. So when it comes to pushing the pistons back in the caliper, there's the wrong tool and the right one. Before you do that, take the lid off the reservoir and chuck a rag on top, because you're pushing fluid back up. So it's time to push the brake pistons back. Pretty straightforward, yeah? Some people use a big old flathead screwdriver, but I wouldn't recommend it. Instead, we have this handy brake tool here that pushes the pistons back into the caliper. Something to think about is brake fluid. If it looks old and discoloured, you need to change it. You can also get these Butte brake fluid testers that tell you if the brake fluid's no good anymore. Alrighty, so I've cleaned everything, reassembled it, I've put a brand new set of disc rotors on, but the main thing is you've got to make sure everything's functional. Now, one of the really important parts of your brakes are these. They're the slide pins, and that's what helps the caliper move in and out when your pads wear. So if these are jammed, it's going to cause your pads to wear unevenly, and that's just a complete waste of money doing your brakes. If these aren't done, flush your money down the toilet. A couple of other wear and tear items to check is your boots around your pistons and the calipers, and also your brake lines. Now for the money shot. We're fitting these Bendix pads, so make sure everything goes back together correctly. Check how you pulled it apart earlier, pads in the correct way, shims the right way around. Don't be this guy or this guy. Okay, we're on the home stretch. I've checked the brake bolts are all done up tight, the clips are in the right place, the brake fluid is at the right level, the lid's back on. All I have to do is torque up the wheel nuts and take it for a test drive. Alright, 0 to 60 in 3.5 weeks. But it doesn't matter because I got really good brakes anyway, so out on a road test. But the best thing about these compared to normal brakes is you don't have to bed them in like that typical brake bedding process, because these have got blue titanium technology, which is a Bendix thing. But yeah, brakes feel great, car drives nicely. That's all for me. Catch you later, legends.